Hi, part ones. It's Wednesday, March the 8th. Happy International Women's Day, everyone. I'm going to try to do a little bit of a summary for scripture right now. I feel like I'm really behind as an instructor, but it's been a bit of a challenge because we're straddling 3 modules right now, which is never happened to me. So it's been really difficult, and there's been some people in this course that have had some real issues that they've had to deal with and that have really pulled them behind. So I hesitated doing a summary because people were just still in those modules. So I'm going to try to get us caught up. Those of you who are behind, please try to do your best to get caught up. The problem with online courses, and if there aren't really firm established deadlines, people really enter into this as individuals. Like right now I'm sitting in front of my computer, it's just me and the computer. And so you get this kind of sense that it's just you. But it is a communal experience, and if you're not part of the conversation, you're impacting the whole flow of the course. And we're in this together. Our learning, our responses are helping all of us. I've been learning so much from you guys. So, and it's tough for me to kind of, be in 3 modules. So I'm going to do my best right now to do a little bit of a response for scripture, and then I'll move on and I'll do another one for morality. Okay. So so I am keeping track. So this is my sheet as I go along. I'm trying to make sure everyone's got everything done. So I'll also give sort of I'll do an email just to let people know where they're falling behind, just so that we're on the same page. So one of the key threads I think that I found with the conversations regarding scripture was the idea that why can't we update scripture? And that's an excellent question. So I don't want to play that down. I just want to explain why it's really not realistic. Okay. So when we look at scripture, we believe that scripture is God's inspired word. And so this is a collection of like 4,000 years of, well, with us now, it's 4,000 years of history. But why I included us now, even though this was written years ago, is because it's still current. It's still on the bestseller list, and it is relevant for today. And it's hard to see its relevancy if you don't have a really strong relationship with this. And so once you get to really know scripture, then you can start to read it and see, oh my goodness, this applies to me, or this applies to where we are right now as society, or this just happened in the world. And that's the unique design of this particular book. It is timeless. Even though it's written in an ancient time and language, and just, to the average person opening it up, it's very confusing. So it does require some commitment and study. And now I'm gathering that you guys got really excited about knowing more about scripture, and that maybe you'll continue to unpack this. Okay? And then get that relationship with scripture. When I read scripture to my staff or to students on retreat or whatever, like I update it as I'm reading it. Like I will bring the story into our contemporary times, and whatever is going on, I will bring it into the story. So when I did the staff meeting on Monday, and the scripture passage was Matthew 25, when I was hungry, you fed me, thirsty, drank, stranger, welcomed me. That particular scripture passage, as I was reading it to my staff, I paraphrased and added in things that were pertinent to us as a staff moving in this Lenten journey. So that takes a long time to get there. Like I've been doing this for almost 30 years. But so the goal hopefully for you guys is to get to that point, that you can just open up scripture and be very comfortable with it. Okay. And part of that is by having your living with Christ every day, just unpacking scripture a little bit each day. Even if all you do is read the gospel of the day and let it permeate your day. Let it become part of what's going on with you in the day. And then at the end of the day, you look back on your day and you've had this scripture in your consciousness, and you think, oh, I get it. This is what God has been trying to tell me. Or this is how this comes to life. Or this is how it becomes relevant. Okay? So this is not Apple. Apple comes out with a new iPhone every fall, or I don't know, even more often. I don't even know. They're always updating their systems and stuff. This system is unfortunately not going to get updated. But how does it get updated? It gets updated through other ways, okay? So it hasn't stopped. So in front of me here, I have the document from the latest Vatican Council II. And it was a very thorough document. It started in 1963, went to 65, this last council. And this is the Council for the Modern Church. And this really turned the church around. And this document still has not been fully utilized or realized. It's still a work in progress, even though it was written so long ago. But in the context historically of scripture, thinking, you know, to think back, this started 4,000 years ago. 1963 to 1965 is not that long ago. I was born in 63. Hello, ancient. But anyways, so I really align myself with this document. And the councils, you know, and they each did something throughout history to update the church. So in front of me on a website, I'm looking at the all the different councils. So the actual first church council was in Jerusalem with the apostles, but they're called the ecumenical church councils, and ecumenical means worldwide. So the first council took place in Nicaea, and then they just continued. I don't have time to go through them all because Vatican Council II was the 21st council in history. But each council defined something of significance in terms of our understanding of God and the church. So for example, in the third council of Ephesus, this is where they declared the divine maternity dogma of the Blessed Virgin Mary as the Mother of God. So it was in this council that she was defined. Okay, so even the whole idea of Trinity, all these important concepts of our faith, they've been defined over time through these different councils. And so the First Vatican Council, we don't hear much about it. It took place in 1869. It started, but it was interrupted with a military invasion into Rome, and it was suspended, but it never picked up again. But the one thing that came out of the First Vatican Council was papal infallibility, the concept of papal infallibility. And since that time, there's been only 2 infallible statements, and they both deal with Mary. So it's interesting. But the Second Vatican Council, there's a lot more going on with it, and it modernized the church, and it really puts emphasis on the laity. And that's important to us. It really has defined the laity and brought the laity into the Catholic scene. Even though you might not feel it, but this is where it started to define it. And more, we really have to understand that church is not just clergy and ordained people, it's the laity. And the laity actually has a greater percentage of, I'm going to say investment. We're the greater number in the church. I am the church. It's not just the building down the street or Father. I am the church. You are the church. Catholic education is part of the church. So it really gives power to the laity. And some people have problems with this document. So if you read, there'll be a lot of criticism. A lot of people don't like that. So we have a long way to go to unpack the Vatican Council II. Okay? So this is how we add to our story. So the scripture starts to grow. We start to update it through means of these councils being the most recent. Something like the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the most recent document in terms of defining what do we understand, where does the church stand on certain issues, okay? So here we go. It starts to expand. The library expands. The Bible is a series of books. It's a library in itself. Many different authors, written over a period of time. Okay, and so we're expanding the library. And another way of expanding this library is through every pope. Every pope writes encyclicals, and they're keeping us up to date in terms of where the church is in history today. So the one I'm holding in my hand is The Joy of the Gospel. But Pope Francis, everything he's written has been brilliant, but he wrote one on the environment, the care for our common home. That's not just for Catholics, that's for everybody. We all need to be aware of what's going on with our environment. I've heard that David Suzuki is not Catholic. I don't even know if he's religious. Every time he's read the document on the environment, he's cried, and he's read it several times. Laudato Si. Have you read a church document? We as Catholics, we have to get caught up on our reading. We should be reading what the Pope's putting out. Thus, the library starts expanding. And then there's incredible theologians. I'll just name some of the ones that I really like. Father Ron Rolheiser, phenomenal. Sister Mary Jo Letty, another wonderful spiritual writer, theologian. I'm not going to be able to carry all my books. Whoops, there goes the Bible. The Prodigal Son, Father Henry Nouwen, phenomenal book. Anything Father Henry Nouwen has written is awesome. Father Richard Rohr, phenomenal. Sister Joan Chittister, I'm losing my books. Oh my goodness, I should have planned this better. Another amazing woman theologian. So I think you got the message here, okay? So we are updating the Bible. We are updating our theology. We're updating our understanding of this story that began so long ago. This is where it begins. This is our owner's manual, okay? So if you didn't watch the introduction that I gave to scripture, I did a bit of a recycle from a video I did in the summer, but it had contained all the information I needed you to see. Please watch that one as well. That held a lot of information about scripture. Okay, so good luck. I hope you enjoyed this session in scripture. From what I read, I just saw you guys really go on fire, really excited about what you learned, and I hope the excitement continues. I hope you continue to learn. I hope you continue to make scripture part of your life, and just baby steps, and then you become an expert. I'm still waiting to be an expert, but anyways, I think I'm on my way. God bless.